it's a big difference between this and the last one. We had all those Google people on. We had a lot of people at the last LRPC.
Holidays. Holidays.
Yeah, I know. That's part of it.
Yeah.
And I worked so hard on these new reports.
They're wonderful.
I'm excited you did.
They're wonderful.
I'm trying to really, embrace all of these charts and sorting and slicing and dicing and.
Looks good. Looks good too.
Except it's in black and white. They're not able to see it quite as well.
We'll do a quick welcome for everybody. Just appreciate everybody being here in the room, and then those online as well. Then of course with Duke, we'd like to start with level one. And I think everybody, I know you guys have been, but I think everybody's been here before and is familiar with the room and the area. So we have exit points all over this room for us, and then of course our muster station is out there at the sign should we need it. But yeah, just anybody online, if you guys are traveling or anything, and just ask that you remain hands free during the call here if you're not able to pull off the road there. So other than that, thanks again for everybody being here. I know it's kind of a holiday coming up, so
I gotta get plugged in.
well, you're good. Yeah, thanks for your time here.
As Dan said, all 4 exit doors are open. Please remind me to lock them before I leave.
Oh, hey,
Just some extra
I'll
folks.
remind you that.
Yeah.
Just some extra folks in the room. All righty. Okay. Louis, I know we have the dirt data here and I can pull up. Do you want to look at any of the data from the board book to kind of reference to everyone what we're going to be doing?
I think that would be great. I was going to say too, the slide you showed at the state UCC with the trend lines. I think that's meaningful because just so everybody's aware, I mean, what we're looking at trying to do is trend more than just the damage numbers. So the raw numbers are one thing, but everybody is mostly familiar with the damage per thousand ratio and uses it. I mean, Jim uses it. I know Richard uses it. Swindler sent me a beautiful set of graphs that go all the way back to, I think, 2014 or something, maybe even longer than that. So this is the ratio of damages is something that people watch like a hawk. And the purpose of it is to really trend and understand, are we improving? Are we not improving? Not just on the state level, but even by the county. So I know one of the things you did today, meeting with Leslie, was to talk about how you guys are going to generate these kinds of charts. This is a simple chart, but it's telling. Okay, it's telling from the standpoint of, unfortunately, the last data point on there of October. You don't want to see the alligator mouth. Okay, you don't want to see the mouth. Because what that means is last year they were going down during this part of the year, and this year they've gone up. And this is something we've heard from multiple people in multiple counties for a multitude of reasons. But this is really critical to understand. Down to the micro level, even of the counties, as we start talking about the BEAD money, and this release of these contracts. In fact, I was going to share with you guys that information that I shared at the state yesterday. But there's like 128 projects that are going to get started up. 102 or something of those have already been they're already under contract. And there's a total of like 42 ISPs that are going to be responsible for all those projects, and it's going to be their subs coming in doing the work. So what we're trying to do is get ahead of this as much as we possibly can by a couple of things. One, getting the state to recognize the importance of Pipes Plus training for those newcomers coming in, the importance of pre-con meetings, the importance of attending UCC meetings. Yeah, in general, the importance potentially of white lining where they can do that. I can't guarantee that that's going to be on the plate. But the other thing that we heard about quite a bit yesterday is this the sheer reality for the small municipalities and even being able to keep up with these as they roll into their areas. And these projects cover the majority of the state. I mean, 90 some counties, right? I mean, I forget the total number of counties, but there's a graph. There's a chart actually that you can see. In fact, do you want me to take over just to show that
Sure.
that bead thing here? Let me just pull it up here real quick here. I just want you to see where these projects are. This is public information, so it's not anything that's super secretive or anything like that, but it's extremely telling. Let me just pull this up and share this with you so you can kind of see what's going on. Now, this is a snapshot of what they have on the actual site, but each one of these little buttons that you're going to see. So let me come over here, share. Here we go. Bam. When you look at this, tell me when it's up there, I guess. Like
It's up.
Okay.
Mhm.
Each of these dots represents a project. Okay. Some of these are already underway. Some of them are yet to be done. Some of them are contingent. But all those green dots are contracted projects. So you can look at this and kind of get a general feel for where all this intense activity is going on. One of the things, this is an important committee because locate, resolution, partnership, right? Well, our biggest fear about all this is that these locates will not be resolved in a timely manner. And the other important thing to remember about this $367 million worth of the grants is that none of those dollars are for protection. So we're asking them to consider whether or not that's an option. The problem that we heard yesterday at the state level, at the state UCC, was that you can't just ramp up a local municipality to hire a locator or two or three to keep up with a project that's going to breeze through town and be gone. Who pays them to continue to be there? So I think funding the locate issue is going to be a challenge all by itself. But to me, the bigger challenge is going to be the damages, and they have a 2-year window to get all this done. So all this work's supposed to be done 24 and 25, 2 years. Now they're granting a 3rd year potentially if people need that extension, and I'm almost willing to guarantee you they're going to need that extension. I mean, some of these projects are not going to get done. But what does that mean for us? Well, it means that we're already getting our ass handed to us for locates today. Last month was a double-digit increase, in October over the last year. And just looking at that alligator mouth showing you the direction things are trending, it's scary to me, because in a lot of these areas, if they start hitting lines and get held up and that kind of thing, we've seen situations where a cut happens and they just move on past it and cut it again, move on past it, cut it again. There'll be 3 or 4 cuts before the city steps in or somebody steps in and stops them. And depending, of course, on what they hit, we don't want to see release of product. We certainly don't want to see injuries, and we absolutely don't want to be in the front of CNN or any of those kind of things with fatalities and that. So that's the reason I share this with you. We'll be keeping a real close eye on this. The 42 ISPs that are involved with this project, in these multiple projects, we're going to have a meeting with them in January, meaning myself, Google Fiber, and Chris Russ, getting in front of them to talk about these needs that we have for them to make sure that they're participating in some of the communication beyond the one call ticket, education on the front end, participation in the UCCs, and solid pre-con meetings to really kind of give people a heads up on what's coming. You know, one of the challenges with this is there's so many small dots there, each one of those representing a lot of work in a short period of time. And that's just getting the basic stuff down. That doesn't include connecting people. So that's going to be on the back end of it, right? That's our challenge, folks. I mean, in a nutshell, looking at that image, that tells you a lot. We will be monitoring it. We will be sharing this throughout the year. Those liaisons will be out there showing you that trend line graph on a county by county basis for those UCC's benefits. We'll be talking about it at a state level. We're hopeful that we can, exercise some kind of change, get some change to occur of attitudes, especially if we see individual entities, subs, and that kind of thing disregarding rules in the laws and that kind of thing. But to take it back to things like the no-call damages and why people don't call occasionally. And I say occasionally because a lot of those people on the list do call generally. But what I'd also like to trend is these no-call damages by entities that normally call. Is that a percentage going up? And if it is, that tells you something about two things, maybe a lack of faith in the process, which the CGA has shown through positive response. It's about a coin flip that an excavator can get to work on time. That means that everybody has responded on the ticket in the 3 full days and accurately, not telling you it was cleared when it wasn't, or telling you it was marked when it wasn't, or telling you they've set up a meeting when they didn't. If it's a 50% situation, you can expect the psychology of the excavators to adapt to what that expectation is, especially if they are under a serious push of the time to get this stuff down. It's a risk that people are going to calculate to take. So that's the reality of it. Our challenge is, again, to try to highlight some of these potential positive ROIs for companies that do follow the rules. Effective projects that aren't held up with fire trucks, and gas lines cut and blocked, communities and that. It's just, we're walking into an unknown here, quite frankly. So we're obviously speaking to the choir in this small group, but everything we can do to amplify the message, and we're going to expect the state to amplify that as well, but everything we can possibly do to drive this as a group is going to be important. Now, this slide, it did come from the board book. We included a couple of pieces of this in the wake luncheon too to talk about, because this goes back to the ratio. Now, to me, damages per transmission is more telling than a damage per ticket, because obviously you could have 2 or 3 on a ticket. You could have 6 or 8 on a ticket. We average 5.6 or something per ticket of equaling transmissions. So in an area where there's each one of those transmissions equates to a potential risk for something to get hit. So when we look at this is just 1 quarter. This was quarter 3. But we're going to start looking at this monthly, and we're going to compare this information over time and trend it. Do you have that next slide where we start to show some of the graphs that we can do with this? So heat maps is this is one of those areas where we can use that ratio to highlight counties that are above the mean, at the mean, or below the mean. And so these counties in red are counties that have a higher than average damage per ticket ratio based on what we see in the state. We can generate the same thing by transmissions, as you can see here, damages per transmissions. This covers a full quarter, but again, our goal, excuse me, nothing gets me more excited than data, as you can tell. No, but seriously, one of the challenges we've had with the UCCs and with the liaisons is a couple of things. We don't want to bore the pants off of people in these meetings. We don't want to inundate them with data that's not meaningful to them. We want to give them concise, simple to understand charts and graphs, only a couple of them, that tell them a story. And they need to understand what the relevance of that is. So that means that the liaisons need to know exactly what that chart is saying. And secondarily, the liaisons need to know in their heart why it's important. If you walk up with a chart and you don't feel it in your heart and you're trying to explain to somebody, they're going to pick up on the fact that you don't really feel as strongly about this as somebody who handed it to you and told you to put it on the plate. So we want to make sure that the liaisons fully appreciate and grasp and are enthusiastic about it. Any way you can include the broadband project slide to, yes, we can. Now, one of the things that we're trying to get from Richard's asking if we can include that in the monthly UCCs. We can certainly pop up that one right there.
Mhm.
That's going to change. It changes over time. I think that was the most recent one from the beginning of November. You can drill in. It's an interactive map.
Yeah.
So ideally, what you could do is for those UCCs, you could drill into the county and give you a timely snapshot of who's there. For example, out west, we're dealing with Blue Ridge Mountain and Frontier. Those are the two largest grantees responsible for the western area right now, like Cherokee County and that. But it's going to be different on the East Coast. It's going to be different in the middle because you have 42 different ISPs in there that are on the ball with that. But we can give you a list. That's what our goal is, to get a list of those ISPs by county, and so that can be shared and transmitted to the UCC level. Also, North Carolina 811 will be proactive in reaching out to those communities, to our member database and to our UCC database, to share what we know in as much advance notice as we know it. And then Ann has also some ideas. Yeah, go for it.
Can you pull that back up again, just so Richard can see? There up top, it was talking about sorting. You can do it one or two ways. You can click on the county on that map, or you can go up top where it says filter by county. And then once you zoom in.
Well, let me show you that. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and do that.
Yeah, once you zoom in, the cool thing is it gives you information on all the projects, who it is, where the project's at, like I'm talking down to the street. It's pretty.
Yeah, let me go down here and show you
the link, and I can, send that to everybody it's on the agenda, the URL. So there's two places. One, you can drive directly to the North Carolina Department of Information Technology, and then there's that link to the broadband. And then off of that, we'll drive you to this one, or NC1 map. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, let me find this here. Hold on a second. I do want to show you what it actually looks like. Broadband maps and data. Here we go. Boink.
But even just by looking at that map, you can see a bulk of it is green. So those are active projects already in the works. If you look at the contingent, those colors are a whole lot less. I'm sure they'll turn to green, but that just shows you the amount of work going on. It's really pretty super cool.
Okay, so now I should be sharing with you this. Mm-hmm. It'll take a hot second there you go. Mm-hmm. It'll take a hot second. Now this, like I said, is completely searchable. So you can, I think I can just pinch and zoom. Here we go.
You can actually just click on the county
Yeah,
And
you
it'll,
can.
it'll grab it, or up at the top where it says filter by county, is that not highlightable where you can change that? Mhm.
Yeah, you can pick your
Yep.
own county that you want to
Yeah.
see.
So,
So in Alamance County, now this just gives you those. So if I click on these contingent projects, it tells me it's Bell South. Okay,
mhm.
that's who's doing this particular one, aka AT&T, I'm guessing. Um, if you go to this one, it's a different group. So NC Communications Advanced. Um, they give you the address of the applicant, and so they give you some information, but not a tremendous amount of detail about contact points or things like that. Um, but it's interesting to look at one single county and see. Now it looks like these green ones that have already been, they must all be to that same one group. Okay, so this North Carolina Communications Advanced. Um, you know, what we would propose to do in a situation like this is notify the members in Alamance County with a snapshot of this, even, or a link to this so that they can go directly here and see it and get a sense of that. Now, this doesn't still give you the timelines, right? That's something we need to get out of the individual folks, and I'm hoping that that's something we're going to generate out of the meeting in January. But here's the thing that they acknowledge purely at the state level, is that these are private networks being built. So it's not, they don't have any obligation to share a lot of detail about where they're going or their path. And our experience, of course, has been that that they don't. I mean, major ones. What we're trying to do is impress upon them on the importance of this. It's one of the reasons Google Fiber is so active right now with us and trying to spread the word and ring the bell about this, because they actually did it. They had some nightmare scenarios when they first went into other parts of the country. By the time they got to Charlotte and into Wake, they had set up pretty good, a steady diet of meetings with the locators. Here's our path. Here's our time frame. We're going to have this many huts built in this month, and then we're going to have this many people on the ground. And it projected back out probably almost 16 months. And it was a pretty long arc. If we could get those folks to do that kind of thing at the local level like this, I think it would be tremendously important.
Richard, did you want to chat, or was that question you asked what you were wanting to talk about?
No, I was just making a statement about that chart. At UCC meetings, we're always saying, "Oh, it's busy. We got this going on, this going on." And yes, I like that website. I like the information you can gather from that website. That's more in intellectual knowledge. I'm coming at this from a psychological knowledge, because when you say you're busy, you're
Right.
just busy. When you
Yeah.
throw that map up there and you see all those dots and say, "Hey, we got 2 years to get this done," it's $6.1 million worth of work being done.
That's just this one project. That's
Yeah.
Right,
just in the county.
right.
So
You
that's
got
that's
right. The
right.
slide you got up, when you go statewide and you
Yes.
say, "Hey, our guys out there in the field locating are busy." Yes, I know, water department, that water tap is very important to you, but be patient with us. Our
Mhm.
people are spread thin and they're busy. It's more of a psychological thing to say, "Hey, we're busy." You know.
Yeah, I get tired of hearing that, quite frankly. It's not even just a psychological thing. It's just an easy way out, to just say, well, we're covered up. I'm not pointing at anybody. And if it seems like I'm imitating somebody, I'm not. But, just to hear, yeah, you're covered up. Well, everybody's covered up. We got that. where you can actually go and say, here's the bridge project that we've got underway, or the DOT when they said, you know, here's what we're doing on that loop project and where we're going to be. That's information that's useful. Colonial used to do that too. They used to show up and say, you know, here's the extension of that pipeline that we're doing up over here by Durham, whatever the case might be. That's meaningful. You know, this is meaningful. You know, even if people don't want to tell you the detail, this tells you a great deal. If we can marry this up with when the ground is actually being turned after permitting, that's even more fantastic. You know, it may be too little too late.
Scroll
but
down
yeah.
on that and see if it gives you, I see it start, just one of them, it starts to give you information. Does it give any additional detail once you scroll down in there? So just
Let's see.
pick
I'll just
one.
pick one here. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah,
So
and
the
then
detail
scroll
it
down.
gives you is this is just it's a contingent cap
Yeah.
project,
That,
and the spectrum is the ones that got it. Now it says one of two. I'm not sure what this other feature is. Oh, that okay. Let's see here. It's the same information.
okay, gotcha.
You know, they're not going to give you. They're not obligated to share any more detail than probably what they have here. So.
But that's good to start that conversation.
Yes.
All right.
But going back to that grant money, though, Louis, you was talking about at the beginning, it's a shame that they didn't put anything in there for damage prevention, paint on the ground, spotting utilities. I mean, that's the key to damage prevention is, you know, paint on the ground and spotting utilities.
Well, that's why we're taking such a Paul Revere approach to this. Just really ring the bell at the state, and actually they're doing this in multiple states with each of the broadband administrators for those different states to try to make them understand. You know, this sounds great. If you can knock all this out in 2 years, that's awesome. However, you won't be able to do that if you're ripping and shredding on the way and
Right.
injuring people and destroying communities. The whole point of this is to try to get this stuff out there to those rural folks that need it. It's a great, in my opinion, it's a great situation, but that they're going to expand this stuff. But for us, you know, yeah, we're highly focused, hyper focused on the protection aspect of it.
Yeah.
So we just need more people we need to amplify that.
But the operators are in charge and in control of this. And the operators and their contractors and their contractors and their subs. And it's mandating that they at a higher expectation. And then Parrish, I know you've seen that article from Trevor Green. And then I forwarded that to Ann, where, you know, HR contractor, then Google, an operator putting their money behind their mouth in damage prevention and paying to spot, paying to take up driveways, doing whatever it takes to prevent the damage. And there's a cost to that. You know, and a contractor, if he's not getting paid for it, he's not going to do it. And, you know, that's again, the operators are in charge of setting expectations for their contractors and their subs and, you know, damage prevention. They got to put their money behind their mouth. Reimbursement because they will take shortcuts if they don't get paid for it.
Well, you're 100% accurate in that no matter what the conversation is on the national level, on the local level, you know, it does come back to the contracts that are being held and who holds them to the fire, what the expectations are. You know, we talked about this at the CGA level, and there were heads nodding when it was stated that some people have a contract that may give lip service to damage prevention. You shall do this and the other, but then they turn their heads the other way. They're not really policing it or whatever. They're just kind of, because they've passed the liability on, so they kind of figure, well, that's the risk that those folks are taking.
Well, that's why they hire contractors for get rid of liability.
Yeah.
But again, you know, I got to give kudos to Google, Dominion. They're putting their money out there and they're promoting damage prevention, they're spending the money to do that. And, you know,
Yeah.
but all the operators have got to get in front of this to do that.
Yeah, and you hope that it's not driven by death or huge cuts or whatever. It's like the Lumen situation. We tried to explain to them multiple times that you need to mark out your facilities. You can't just say that's an update and you're not responsible for it. And they said, well, we interpret this. I said, look, here's the deal. I know you look like you're saving money by not doing this, but it's only going to take that one cut of what you're running, and you're going to lose all the savings. And they did. They had one cut outside Charlotte. It was $500,000. So, and they had not marked it. So there you go. I mean, there is cost to these things, but there's also an ROI when you do things correctly, and you can finish a project on time, and you've done it without disrupting the community. I mean, those are benefits to a company. So yeah, my hat is off to those that recognize that. But I feel like we need to do more to connect the dots between the construction side of the house and the damage prevention side of the house for these utilities. We have to show them it's costly to do business in a way that ignores, not even necessarily ignores, but that minimizes the impact of damage prevention on these parts. So.
Louis, Jim's asking a question. Are there similar sites in other states, kind of like, and is I'm assuming every state has a different entity that may be managing these grants. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, each state has its own broadband office that's either it's being done through some other existing state agency that they put in charge of this. I bet it would be just a simple piece of research. In fact, I could probably even find out from Ariane at Google. She's probably already got a whole list of these things from multiple states because she's been on fire reaching out. And in fact, she's at some national thing right now where they're talking about this. So she may be able to give us a consolidated list of each state's links to these kinds of maps.
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be great because we were just going through some numbers, and especially in our north zone, up in Greensboro, Winston-Salem, that sort of thing, our damages on fiber tickets have almost doubled in the last 3 months. And like you said, I don't think the wave has even hit yet, and it's getting, we're just getting a lot of damages from them. So
it's swelling. Speaking of that, if you've been and you guys have heard this story from Canada, they swear up and down that clicking before you dig is safer than talking to a CSR. Now, their data shows that. What we're doing right now is to try to we did this once before, probably 4 years ago when they first brought this out, and I looked at the data in North Carolina, and it did not show a significant difference in damage ratios between a ticket that was created on the web or somebody that took it in the CSR. We're doing it again right now. In fact, Leslie's running the numbers for this year. What we've done is we've taken the CGA dirt information we have. If there was a ticket associated with it, they give you the ticket number. We've exported all those ticket numbers. From those ticket numbers, she's going to look at the web channel or the channel of the ticket. Was it a web ticket, a SAT ticket, a CSR? Then we're going to basically pivot table that and get percentages of the damages that were affiliated with those different channels. And then we're going to compare that to the percentage of tickets that are generated through those channels to see if there's any statistical validity to what they're saying. And it may be true for them in Alberta, but I don't think you're going to find it here because I think what you're going to find, you're more likely to pair up work types to these damages than you will the channel. But I'm going to look at those too. The beauty of it is if you've got the ticket numbers, I can tell you all kinds of things about what those tickets were that were associated with the damage.
But in Alberta, you can probably only dig 6 months out of the year.
Yeah,
The
there's that.
permafrost gets you the other 6 months.
Yeah, you got a weather for sure. You got a geographical and a weather component to that too. I I just think that they'd like to tout it as a number, and Mike Sullivan, who runs Alberta One Call, awesome bass player, super nice guy. But him and I always get head to head on this particular issue because I'm like, well, it's cool for you. Maybe that's what's working for you over there. We just don't see it here in the state.
It's all about
That's not
ticket
where our
volume.
focus is.
Yeah, his ticket volume is nothing. It doesn't even pale to your ticket volume. So I mean, you know, it's apples or oranges, you know, they're two different fruits.
Yeah. But it's important to me whenever I hear somebody nationally start making a claim of any kind. I don't care if it's awareness and they say, well, 1 out of 2 people watch NASCAR and 90% of those people are digging. It's like, that's a crock of bullshit. I don't know where you pulled those stats out of, but I have a pretty good idea. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't reach people with that, but be careful with the stats that you throw around, because things can be validated or not. They can be shown to be true or not true. It's very important with what we say to people and how accurate we are with those statements, because it's a trust factor.
Well, most stats are made up about 10 seconds before you spout them.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say, there's lies, there's damn lies, and then there's statistics.
There you go.
Speaking of,
let's look at some
speaking
statistics.
of, let's see, what do we have to share first? So here is a list of all of our 20 top companies, whether it be updates with 2 or more times. The list has been staying still pretty consistent. You know, a lot of the top 20 companies are pretty much the same. ITS, you're on there, of course, Utility Lines Construction, Piedmont Utility Group, ANSCO, Southeast Connections. This Evergreen, I'm still hearing some issues about them, which we talked with them several times. Unfortunately, because they're not tied to a member, they're harder to bring into the fold, but we're continuing to work on them. Let's see. Our top 20 companies to updates 2 or more with work duration. You can see that list. MOSTEC, GHL, Utility Lines, Fiber Optic. I think Fiber Optic's working for you all, right? No? Okay.
Hey, ITS ain't on the 2 or more.
I know.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's good to see you're not on that second list.
Yay. Let's see. And then we get over to the work types. Obviously, underground cable. And, you know, some of this stuff can even still be lumped in together. Conduit install, you know, or fiber install. So it's just really on how they're putting in their work type. But ultimately, in the end, a bulk of the work is coming from, you know, the telecom industry. Of course, there's a lot of electric work going on too.
Mm-hmm.
I know you guys have a ton of projects because obviously, as you see there, you're number 1 for work done for all the updates. And then DOT, I was actually just kind of looking through. We've got a couple companies that work for DOT, and you know, they have certainly updated multiple times. So, and this was just one. These are DOT, and 180 times for 1 ticket. So, those are type things that we're, you know, following up on. They're DOT contractors that have multiple year projects. Of course, when I looked at 1 ticket, it said like a 4-year, and when I, you know, when I did the math on it, it was like 7 years already that they're continuing to update this ticket. So we've been on site with them before, you know, had them on our radar for quite some time. So, and we'll continue to focus on those.
And is it worth it for me to write a letter to Evergreen Landscaping and Maintenance, to the owner, from me. I'm, just mentioning that, we have this committee, we're looking at these issues and,
Yeah.
I mean, and they could really help us. In other words, it'd be a positive letter. I'm not gonna, and
Yeah,
I'm not gonna, it's not gonna go under Dan's signature from the LRPC. It would go under my signature.
okay.
Just as a concerned, fellow damage prevention citizen, I'd like to do that, I think. I'd like to just see if it makes a difference.
Sounds good.
And make it kind of to see how you can help kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point is like,
Mhm.
look, as we study these situations, we really want to encourage people to obviously use 811. We thank you for doing it. It's possible that because of the type the type of work that you're doing, it's more shorter term. And that you're arriving on this list, and we really want to help discuss with you, what your process is, or get you to correct the process because you are contributing to additional updates that maybe you don't even need to be. So just opening the door conversation with them.
Yeah, and what I can do, Louis, is pull of those update tickets. I can pull that list just in a spreadsheet for you. And then, if you email them, I mean, maybe you can attach their update list and, kind of like I've been doing with a lot of the other contractors. I've been pulling their list of updates.
Okay, yeah, I'll start with that. We'll start with that.
Okay.
It doesn't even need
All
to
right.
be a letter. It can be an email letter.
Okay, all right. Certainly be happy to. Okay. Let's see. What's our next one? The updates. Let's look at our update report. See if I can find that one. So what I did with this report, this is the base report that Leslie sent me, that we collect for each of our meetings. And of course, it's got our updates and our tickets. So what I did was I went over and I sorted. I think with this one, I think I took the top, let's see, I think I took the top 20, somewhere around, the top 20. So I sorted it by updates and then by tickets. So you can see the bar chart here, based on the updates and the ticket volume. So Wake, MEC, and then so on and so forth. You can kind of see where they match up. Forsyth, Guilford. So if you're looking at updates for tickets, this is where they line up.
I like it.
Yeah. So then I sorted it another way. So I sorted it by tickets. And as you see, the colors are still the same, but the tickets, there's really not a whole lot of change other than I think Guilford and Forsyth flipped. But just another way to look at some of the data.
Can I offer something for that?
Sure.
What's really telling in these things is the percentage, right? So if there's a way that you can attach the data labels that show the percentage difference. So in other words, like Wake is a 33.6 on the last one you showed about just by dividing it in. You can actually do that in a D column.
Yeah.
If you want.
Add the percentage.
Just divide them in and get the percentage because the percentage of what those updates are is something we obviously focus on at the state level too, but at a local level, I think that's very interesting. Very much like what we're talking about with 3 hours too.
Yeah, now the 3 hours, we do have the percentage on that, but absolutely I can add the percentage on that and then resend that out to the top 5. So let me grab that report for the 3 hour. 3 hour.
I wanted to add a little bit to the 3 hour. I looked into that one a little bit. With the 3 hour ticket, I mean, there's a lot of data in this 3 hour ticket. There's a couple things. I bet you if you could dig into it, the damage ratio in a 3 hour ticket zone that's high 3-hour tickets means you're having problems getting paint on the grounds.
Right.
And there's a lot of issues with that. So, I mean, I think the 3-hour tickets is a hot spot.
Mhm,
It is.
It's issues. But I dug into it and I was asking my guys about 3-hour tickets. Why? And I got some feedback that tickets are being prioritized.
mhm.
If it's a service, and then you don't get located until Saturday, and if you need it located before that, you got to call in a 3-hour ticket. And they're being told to call in 3-hour tickets. And that's adding to the noise in the system and everything else. But 3-hour tickets is that's one I think you really need to pay attention to a lot,
Yeah.
because that means you're having trouble with locate. Is it an area where locators need training? Is it an area the subs and the contractors are not doing the right thing? I mean, there's a lot to it, but 3-hour tickets are a hot spot.
You know, there's also screening. So
Mhm,
people that are
right.
screening tickets out in Colorado, clearing a ticket, and then the locator never saw it because it never got to them, and then all of a sudden they get the 3-hour notice. So I think this is telling as well on screening and the impact of that in particular areas. But I love it. On this percentage column, you could actually just, if you could highlight that and change it to percent, just swipe down the whole column on D and then do format it. No, over here on the D.
Oh, okay.
Just swipe down the numbers where the numbers start and go down and then change and format it to percentage.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
And then to Court's point, you know, we should be trending this month over month for these counties, because that's also going to give you a kind of advance notice of, you know, just how bad it is.
Mhm.
And how it's driving damages. Like you could probably superimpose these 3 hours as a percentage of total tickets over top of damages by county. And I bet you would see I bet they would trend in the same direction. That's my guess.
I would guess too. And it's also where the locate companies need to train, add people.
Mhm.
You know, there's everybody's trying to do a good job, but you got good contractors, you got bad contractors, you got good locators, I mean, there's a mix.
And I think it really depends on what area you're in, you know, just like yesterday up in Buncombe County, they're managing their ticket volume now. But you know, you come back down to, you know, Wake or Mech or Alamance or any of those, and they may be 3,000 tickets in the hopper that hadn't been responded to. So,
but it's nerving to think they're
Yes.
prioritizing tickets. I mean, you have to prioritize to a level,
Yeah.
but they're prioritizing who gets paid and who don't get paid, you know? That's disturbing a little bit.
and you're right. I mean, we have heard you know, in a UCC, and it was, you know, stated, hey, if you don't get a response within 3 days, call in a 3-hour so that we can prioritize it, you know, and then that will help me determine, you know, how to prioritize it. And you know, of course, my eyes got big as saucers, and I'm like, we don't need any more tickets in
Yeah,
the,
exactly.
you know,
But
let's communicate.
it's a collaboration of everybody, but the operators, again, it's up to them to maintain the law. The law says this, and you know, if they're not doing it, they're not going in what's the spirit of the law.
right.
You know, and you know, and like I say, the operators control the contractors control the subs most of the time. Now, there's a rare case out there, but not many. And I think the operators just need to help hold their contractors more accountable.
Well, you know, the labor shortage issue is
Mhm.
nothing to sneeze at either when it comes to like the locators. I definitely feel their pain.
Yeah.
I definitely understand that they are hosting job fairs. They are trying to hire 100, 150 at a time. But if you've got somebody who's never done it before, yeah, absolutely, it's a boots on the ground issue. If you got somebody who's brand new to locating, they're not going to be running out there locating by themselves for months.
It takes 2 years to get a locator comfortably and good at what he's doing or better. I understand it.
And just
It
as
really
soon as you
does.
do, somebody's gonna swipe them.
Well, but that's the other part of the equation too, though. I've been involved in this over 40 years, but when you only have one contractor, you can't get your work done. If you have two contractors, you can get your work done. And for some reason, it could be the same amount of people with one contractor or the same amount of people with two contractors, but you get more work done.
Huh, that's interesting. That would be an interesting case study. Again, I'm always curious to know.
Hey, that's one of them statistics, though,
Listen,
that you make up by 10 seconds. That's a good 10-second statistic.
Well, if it's borne out with any data, again, to me, to me, anything we can do to explain some of this issue because to be honest with you, when I heard that there were going to be potentially dedicated locators that could be paid for separately for a project, I scratched my head a little bit to understand where they got the bodies for that, but they didn't have the bodies to actually do what they were supposed to do on time, which if they were doing that. So where are these bodies coming from? I don't know. It's like I said, it's a challenge.
You think they come from like out of state and stuff? These states that are starting to slow down, maybe?
They do during the winter. So, those areas you were talking about, Alberta, northern the U.S., they play catch up by bringing in some of those people from the north during this time of the year, through January and that. But come April, everybody's got work to do, right? And so you can't rely on that, and we can't rely as a process on catching up after 9 months. I just that's not gonna work either.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. I wouldn't want to be a locator.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I feel their pain, and, as I talk to contractors, try to help them wear that hat of the locator and vice versa. It is very scary. This particular one, I did by, sorry, I'm gonna go ahead and change that while I'm here. Sorry, I don't know why I didn't catch that. I apologize. I did this one, by tickets. So I sorted by tickets, and then 3 hour.
And then if you do it so you're
Then I
sorting
did
it by
3
the number.
hours.
Okay, by the number of tickets versus the number.
I did I sorted them by percentages so that you could see that. You can kind of see the graph there. Then I sorted it by the tickets. And then I sorted it by the 3 hour.
And is this something you're able to do monthly, Ann? I mean, on a month-to-month basis?
As far as with 3 hours,
Yeah,
Leslie sends me this every month. Yes.
Okay, so I guess where I'm going with that is, to me, this is extremely meaningful too, especially from a trend perspective. Of course, you can't trend it until you do it month after month after month.
Yeah.
So a steady diet of this going out to the UCCs as a percentage of their own counties that they're working
See
in.
how far we got back. We've got.
You got pretty far back, actually.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've got all the way back to 2021. So, yeah.
So I would just say focusing in on 1 year, the year prior, and then just exactly what you did with your trend lines for the other one.
Okay.
Trend line the percentages by county,
Yeah.
allow them to do it by county.
Same way we're gonna do with dirt.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. And you could put those slides up right behind each other. Here's the dirt damage trending, and here's the trending on the 3 hours. See any similarities? You can tell people, and they're going to go, yeah, I do actually.
Yeah.
I assume.
Okay. Cool.
Very cool.
All right. So those are some reports. You did great. Lewis is challenging me on these, and I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I promise you, I promise
What a
you,
great boss.
I do. Yeah, he's the biggest asshole in town. But here's the thing, though. honestly, it's like Leslie, it's like I always feel bad when I go to Leslie asking for a report, but I really want to I really want to focus in. I want to have a whole year's worth of us doing the same thing over and over with these reports so that we don't have to keep trying to find another way to skin a cat or look at this. I think if we get down to the meat of this, like what we're doing now, I won't force you into making any more, I promise.
And you guys don't come up with any more ideas how to slice and dice.
Well,
Yeah.
work types and,
Yeah.
work types and stakeholder groups and stuff that we do on the quarterlies for the board books, I think are really good. But we could drill down if we wanted to on that. Where I'm going to get really interested is in these no-call damages with a ticket. I'm sorry, not no-call damages, but the damages with a ticket, pulling those out and looking at those. Actually, we can also pull out the no-call damages from that whole year's worth, that 5% or whatever, and look and analyze what those are all about. In that group, is there a higher preponderance of a particular type of work for the no-calls versus the others? Is it landscaping? Is it nursery? Is it fences? Is it fiber? Is it telecom? I don't know. But, so I'm going to limit the amount of work I ask you to do, Ann, I promise you, because you have your hands full. Not going to lie to you. Plus Christmas is coming.
I know, right? Plus time off. Woo.
And I don't want you to have a stocking full of coal. And I don't want to have a stocking full of coal either, so.
Well, it's like anything, you use it or lose it. So the more you stay in it, the easier it is to slice and dice.
Sure.
I'm enjoying it.
Yay.
And as you know, like in all the areas within NC 811, we're very fortunate. I mean, Leslie is able to put all these reports together, but also we have a Steve to help us, create how to present this data to you all. And then those heat maps, all that stuff's created by Marshall. I mean, that's surround yourself with good people that make you look good.
That was a great year-end evaluation comment,
Yeah, it was. It was beautiful. It was great. Just speak to my board of directors and let them know what a fantastic job my team is doing, because that's really all I care about. I just want to know. I know they're all doing great. We just did all those reviews, and I couldn't be more proud as I look around the industry in other states and how they're organized and what they do and what they produce. I just say that we're doing our share. We're doing our part.
That's why we all save our time to the end of the year so that we can just relax and from a busy year.
Tell me about it. I'm looking forward to that myself. So, what else is on our little agenda?
Okay,
We've covered a lot of data.
Offender list. Have we received any offender list from our folks in a while?
Yeah, the most recent one I sent out. I guess it was really from the summer, the data that I got from everybody. And I did send out another round of the emails to them and got the usual, handful of calls. I want to continue doing this quarterly. I know it's going to be, it just depends on how long the gap is between when who those people are and when I get them. But as much as you can rally up in a quarter, I like to do it quarterly just because it's more recent. I know we did one where it was annual and people are like, well, what are you talking about? Oh, that was back in January? Okay. So I think it's better if we can do it where we're actually focusing in on quarters.
Okay.
And absolutely, we want to see that that's impacting no-call damages for the members. Sorry. Well, we skipped right over to the project overbill, didn't we?
That's fine. So.
Oh, but the review board. Give him a review board. Give him a taste of what's going on over there.
So review board, at our last meeting, we did adopt the new budget. We added, I think, like 5,000 back into the budget. kind of handle the website, different things. So it's 80,000. So once again, that does decrease that, rate off to our top 50 members. Let's see, we had 29 cases. Of those, we're definitely beginning to see contractors placing complaints, against members. And so we saw, some of those. There was a couple that we dismissed for lack of evidence. There was a case with, and we've been sharing this at the UCCs, just reminding electricians that if you're driving ground rods, they do require, a locate, because certainly they're hitting gas lines. And it actually, I had shared that even in August. We had a meeting in July. We saw the same guy. And then we shared it at the electrical conference and electrical inspectors as well. So we shared that information with them to pass along to the industry. And then we did see it this past meeting. And so we do have a new board member representing the telco seat. He will be coming on in January, or he'll sit for the first meeting in January. And then that is Tim Williams with Spectrum, Charter Spectrum. And Jonathan Holt, he resigned. So that's filled. Marcus Koontz did come on and fill the natural gas spot, I think, and he's representing Piedmont Natural Gas. He took Megan's, he applied for that spot and was approved. And then I think the last spot that we're waiting on now is for the transmission side, liquids. And there is an application in the hopper right now from Daryl Larimore with Colonial. So hopefully he'll be approved through the governor's office, and hopefully he'll come on board, and that'll give us a full slate. The last case, we were not able to hear that case because there were so many recusals, we didn't have quorum. So hopefully having those two positions filled will help that. And then lastly, and I shared this, and I know Jim had asked the board prior if Pipes Plus was recommended, could someone else within the company take it, or could they direct someone? So initially it was a no, and then we went back to the attorney and questioned that, and then we did make a recommendation that if you were required to have Pipes Plus training, you could choose who you wanted to take that training. So that will, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we affect change, and I think that will definitely benefit. So with that, really, our next meeting will be in January here at the office. I encourage folks to come. If not, the phone number was not working last time, and so we allowed some folks to dial in through or to join the Teams meeting. So we're working on that. The Department of Commerce, and they're handling our website. So we've asked them to do a few changes, update some stuff. So we're working on that with them. They're a bit slow about, bringing about that, but we're hopefully going to have it all finished by January. So just a lot of cases that are coming in. And I know Trevor spoke from Dominion that there will be more forthcoming. That will be being placed by Dominion. So, and that's about it.
Hey, and this is Mark. If everything that I could see on Teams, if I was going to be able to see that, if I was in the room, Teams was really nice versus being on the phone and not be able to see anything.
Well, so that Teams link is coming from, from Capitol Hill Management. So it's not a public Teams link. It's just a Teams link to the board members. If you'll notice if you follow the Secretary of State with everything, it's always a phone number where you dial in.
Okay,
So we sent you that. There was only a couple of you that joined in on Teams that day, but
Right.
normally, that's not a public link.
okay. But the world can show up and see it in person.
Yep. I would encourage you. Actually, we had a contractor, she showed up from, 5-Star, who represents Lumos. She's
Okay.
been very active in attending, which I'm surprised she's not here today.
Appreciate it.
I hope you
Mark,
feel
are you
better,
sick?
Mark.
Yes, yes. And then what really doesn't help me today is the left side of my mouth is all numb from dental work I had done this morning.
Oh,
So
they let you go do dental work when you're sick?
I'm not contagious and I'm no longer,
Bite your jaw.
unlike the last 2 days, I'm not coughing stuff up out of my lungs anymore. So
Yeah.
I could actually sit there and not have to cough or do anything, stuff like that. But yeah, so, it's been an interesting time that started halfway through last week.
Wow.
Yeah, I knew yesterday when you spoke online, I'm like,
Yeah, I
ooh,
heard it in your voice too.
I've been that way I'd been that way since Friday last week. So yeah, I'm getting better. Yay.
Yeah, that is a yay. Well, good. Because I was like in Asheville. I'm like, well, where's Mark? And then he popped on the thing, and I heard you speak, and I was like, oh God, okay, maybe it's good he's not here.
Yeah, that's why I didn't drive the 10 miles for the free lunch.
There you go.
what's good? Where were you, Dan?
I was unable to make the journey. I had plans, but plans changed.
Okay, we'll look at that.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah.
All I can say.
I guess we're down to open discussion or?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I will just fire up the open discussion there. For Duke's, behalf there. So, and looking at, the update stuff, I don't know what all to say about it that we can't say, haven't said before, but the column with the 1 day or less, those are like, it looks like we got 90% of those folks. So that's kind of crazy, but I know a lot of those folks do other work for other people too, but still.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you and I don't know a way around it. I think it's a good and it's bad. So a lot of, from the conversations we've had with the contractors and their subs and everything, a lot of these updates they're being generated from their damage prevention practices. So it's beneficial that they're not causing any damages, but and then the other side is creating a lot of noise and extra work for everybody. So a lot of these are, and they come to me every day with this. We had one this morning where it was a Verizon issue that it was causing them to update a ticket. They hadn't gotten a response from Verizon.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know how we can do better with that, aside from saying, don't worry about it and just cut the thing. So it's tough.
So I have a question, because I had a kind of a similar conversation too. And this was for a fiber contractor, and it was basically a drop. And kind of going back to what Lewis said yesterday, you've done your due diligence, you've done your 3 day, you've done your 3 hour, no response, then you've got to make that decision. And I think sometimes it's just that common sense approach, if I do proceed with care, what could I potentially hit? If there's no gas, okay, good, that's great. Gas has been marked. If I hit a buried drop, so you don't want to damage anything, but it's not going to be marked anyway, most likely.
Yeah.
So, then they just have to make that decision to dig safe, because I know you guys have that very strict policy, no dig without positive response.
Yeah, well, yeah, we did, well, so we have, some specific rules to things, but that's primarily focused around electric and gas.
Mhm.
Beyond that, it's kind of their own rules, and a lot of times their own rules are the ones that are kind of hanging things up, and then, so with that, they'll kind of turn it around to, are we okay with them proceeding? Which basically just puts us on the hook for anything that might,
Mhm.
if they cut a fiber that costs $500,000 to repair, well, we told them it was okay, so we can't do that. So
Mhm.
that's out altogether, and yeah, so, but that's a huge problem with kind of our ticket system. Now, there's a lot that can be avoided, but a lot of them are, it's every day that there's like one little thing. And sometimes they're not worried about it, but it's costing them. So if they don't worry about it, like you're saying, with a municipality or a phone company or, some kind of communications thing, then we'll authorize the vac truck to go out there and do the work, which is, 10 times the cost.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's a tough challenge. So.
And I think you're probably gonna see even more of that. There was one of your contractors, well, no, wasn't contractors, one of your Duke Power folks came to one of the Guilford meetings, and he was very frustrated in the fact that they had placed an emergency ticket. And I don't know that I think I've shared a little bit with Lewis, but we were trying to figure out, like, City of Greensboro, J&J mark for them. But I found out yesterday that they only mark from normal business hours. So an emergency ticket, they came and they were just, so frustrated because, they had placed an emergency and, trying to explain, well, this is what the law says, but typically, the process or policy for folks is they'll respond or call or, figure out what's going on. But there was no response. And I haven't dug in a little bit more to find out, other than the damage contact. I had the gentleman to download the app. He didn't have the app downloaded. So he's got that. Looking at the damage notification, the after hours type folks. But I think that was a really unique one, Lewis, in that, they said we only respond to their normal operating hour tickets.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I'm trying to figure out that second piece of the puzzle. Well, is it the after hours under their damage notification that's going to respond to that? And then I need to check with Leslie to find out where are emergencies sent to. Because
that's your first thing, probably.
Yeah.
Look to see where that stuff's going.
Yeah. So these are kind of one-offs too, that kind of like you're saying, we're dealing with, trying to help, and they were very, very frustrated.
Yeah.
But when he left, I said, please come back. Don't just come when you have a problem. Come back, when you're happy to and things are going well and you can communicate. And he was, they'll certainly be back, I think. But they had a whole crew. SEC had a whole crew, so they're coming, and that's good.
Awesome. Yeah.
So.
And we definitely continue to kind of put that message out to get to these local UCCs and stuff. If anything, to make like the contacts and to learn.
Yeah.
Super beneficial, but yeah.
Well, that's the struggle again. When we have to amplify, as I said, the messaging that there's a benefit, there's an ROI to spending that hour, even if it's just to get contacts, like you said.
Yep.
It's critical.
Yeah. But yeah, aside from that, we have a tremendous amount of work. I think they call it the EOL, end of life cable replacement project. So essentially, it's like that all the old wire that's in the ground being replaced. And I feel for, USIC that's locating our stuff because they have to locate our line in order for us to replace it. It's old and doesn't locate very well, and it's a pain in the butt for them. It's a pain for everybody because it's not front easement stuff. It's all old. We're using it. A lot of headaches, a lot going into it, but there's two 2 million feet, I think, to be replaced here. And it keeps going. I don't know what the number is for like this year, but it's very high. It has to be done by the end of this year.
Yeah.
They take up Dan, are they pulling out the old altogether?
No.
So they're abandoning it in place, basically?
Yeah.
So when they do that, are those records at all going anywhere? I mean, this is a big abandoned lines issue, right? So I don't know what they're going to do, and like I said, I know once they remove them from their tax records and everything, obviously they don't want to be paying taxes on twice on the same line, that one that's not working. But I just wonder if there's a strategy at all in placing those things in somewhere, some map database. I don't know where.
Yeah. So I don't know. So as far as like GIS data, it's not like being removed, but I know they're like hiding it, right? So because nobody needs to know about it. Like the crews out there, once there's something, if it's not active, they don't need to mention it kind of thing. But I have to talk about the GIS folks, but I'm sure it's still there. It's just kind of be like a layer that's hidden, if you will.
But you're talking about the service lines, right? Or is this?
In the line?
Yeah.
It's primary.
Oh, primary. Oh, wow. Yeah.
So,
if I had my way, it would all go in the pipe, and they just
share the same space.
One out, one in, kind of thing. But
Exactly.
apparently, there's a cost to that kind of blows that out.
And I think that kind of goes back to that conversation of when they try to make a decision to proceed further, there's so much abandoned stuff in the ground that they're scared to death. And they're,
I was talking with somebody the other day, and we were just kind of having a casual conversation, but kind of when will we get to that point where what's the point of calling one anymore? Because if you have so much abandoned stuff out there all mixed in with the good stuff, even if you call for to locate, you still can't put something because you don't know what's what. You're gonna have to just hand dig the whole thing. I mean, it's getting crazy out there. I
mean, look at the fiber. You've got the old copper in the ground.
Yeah.
Now you got the fiber in the ground. And I mean, and that was a conversation I was having with a fiber contractor, as in, well, should I proceed? And then that conversation led to, well, there's so much there, you don't know, if you do proceed and you cut something, you're like, you hope somebody doesn't come out and bless you out that you cut something.
Yeah. Well, and then we talk about like with the damage notification stuff. Because I'm sure there's a lot of damage that's already reported, but so like if you're an excavator out there and you cut something, when do you decide to call, right? Is because there's so much abandoned, it's because there's so much abandoned stuff. Do you wait until somebody comes out and said, hey, my lights are out or my phone's not working? Do you call then, or do you just go ahead and call because you cut something, even though it could be abandoned night, the crew's waiting, locators got to come out?
Ideally, they should call in every cut, even if it's to an abandoned.
I agree. Yeah, but
I don't know. I don't know on the timing of that. I don't know what excavators are choosing to do. I'm encouraged by the amount of excavators that are calling and notifying us of damages, and that's really where I want to get to this comparative thing on what dirt shows and what they show. But at the same time, I mean, they're supposed to report everything.
Yeah.
And if they, say drops, say if they hit all these drops, then we can, correlate, well, those are the facilities that are not mapped and given to us. So we know for sure that in a lot of instances, then, you know, they're hitting things that aren't, you know, documented, I guess.
But
Yeah.
the question I would have is it considered a near miss if you hit an abandoned line? In other words, is it
Yeah.
a near miss because I could have hit a live line, but I did hit something?
Yeah.
You know, so
Thanks,
I don't
Ian.
know the answer to that.
Yeah, it's just some interesting kind of
Well,
stuff that pops up here and there.
and I think like anything, the more data we have, the more, you know, the more output. I mean,
You know, the more we can share, this is what we see.
absolutely. Just, you know, it's one of those,
Yeah.
makes you think. But you're right. I mean, it's gonna get to the point of where you're even afraid to put a shovel in the ground because you don't know what's live and what's not.
Yeah.
So it's,
It is. So, well, that's all I got.
I know Jim had to drop off. Rania, anything for PMOD or?
No, we had 234 damages for the state of North Carolina last month.
Ooh, I think I had you beat. I think I sent it to Lewis. I don't remember what I sent. I think was I 257, Lewis?
Oh,
Yeah, I'll pull it up real quick. I'll tell you.
I don't feel so bad. I was feeling bad seeing that number.
Well, you shouldn't because there was a lot of damages last month.
It is.
Yeah.
And we're
Yes.
looking like the crocodile monster as well.
257 was the Duke number.
257 for,
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
and
but if you look at the tickets, I mean,
We had like
Actually,
84,000.
you know, it's probably not bad compared to
8693.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
versus high compared to yours.
86,893 tickets
Yeah.
in North Carolina.
Wow.
We're way above that.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
think we're
yeah,
more than double that.
yeah. Mark, anything for you?
There we go. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now. We did have less than 100 damages last month. Lewis is looking it up. And tickets are running high, but right now I'm trying to remember what I estimated was 72,000 tickets. I think still have a little missing information right now with our new ticket system, but we're good.
yeah, Scott gave me a really beautiful set of charts here going back to 2019 with your damage ratio and everything else. Let me just see here. October's numbers.
Mark's the one that makes those charts.
Is he?
I'm gonna do what?
You make these charts?
Oh yeah. Well, I definitely have this. Scott may rearrange the stuff that I have. That's all my data.
So 871 is what I'm showing for October. Does that sound right?
871 damages?
Year to date.
Oh.
Oh, that's a running total. I'm sorry, I didn't realize
Yeah.
that.
Like,
And I think
whoa.
that's 877 now for October through October.
Okay, so that's actually that's only 9 damages.
No, like I say, we had around 90 damages in October.
Okay,
Wow.
this chart is weird. Let's see here.
Now Richard's thinking I really did do it.
Oh.
Oh, if it's a running total, that's the only reason I'm wondering because September. Oh, never mind. Never mind. You're right. It was actually 91 damages. 91 damages. Okay. So then I'm still waiting on Charter's data and AT&T's data.
Tony's with.
Yeah.
But still, our update tickets are running 35-37% in our high weeks, and that's a killer.
It is.
Makes your damage ratio look great, but it's still a killer. I took out all of our, all the update, cancel, remark, everything but new tickets. And our damage ratio went from 1.35 to about 2.2, 2.3. So it really shows how much those extra tickets are having an effect on us.
Yeah. Well, I'm still curious to know, and I'm going to look at these damages with tickets to see how many of them were affiliated with an update or affiliated with a 3-hour notice.
Yeah.
I think that that's going to be ties back to what we were, well, why we look at the 3-hour notices and to kind of to what Court was saying earlier. You know, there does seem to be a correlation between the numbers and percentages of 3-hour notices and the numbers of damages.
Mhm.
But that's good. Well, once I get AT&T and Charter's data, I'll have the full complement of October, so I can compare that to what we see in Dirt
I think so, that.
for the month.
Huh?
From leave or whatever, so. You know, it was full.
Who does? He's wearing?
Oh. Lewis, my understanding is, Doug's out on FMLA, or so is anybody providing his or?
Yeah,
handling his-
there's a gal, well, let's see. Yeah, he told me there was somebody he was gonna have working on it. There's a person named Melissa. Yeah, let's see. He says, yeah, he's out of the office.
No, he's 18.
He went into surgery Monday on his hip.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, Melissa's with Charter.
yeah, Melissa's supposed to be getting
Yeah,
her.
no, I'm talking about AT&T.
Yeah, Doug's, he's in the hospital getting it, well, he was anyway Monday getting his other hip done. So, I didn't want to keep pestering him because I was like, you know, damn, get your hip fixed.
You should just go to the hospital and ask him in person then.
Must be something with these hips.
I'm telling you, I could go knock on his door there.
There's a
Catch a bite,
relation in
takes
the
a big
telco
huff.
industry.
It's a big huff of something.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck getting something from Melissa there though, geez.
Oh, yeah. Well, she said she was going to have it by Monday, which was 2 days ago. So that's why I'm continuing to stay on her back about it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's
it's just that, you know, time zones, you know, jet lag